Hello everyone, it's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and welcome to another episode of Comic Class, the show every single week on this channel where we just geek out about comic books. And today is a very important day because today is the day that the final issue of Civil War II comes out. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, then you know that ever since this massive cluster fudge of an event started, I've been making videos about talking about all my problems with it, all the reasons why it causes me pain, and the final issue comes out, and I know that many of my subscribers are tuning in right now going, oh, what are you gonna say about this issue? Funny story, as you are watching this, I am currently back home down south visiting my family, so I have not actually gotten a chance to read this issue yet. When I had to leave earlier this week, the issue had not yet been released, so I have not been able to make a video. And sure, I could whip out my phone while I'm down home and start ranting about it, but seems like that would be a bad use of the holiday spirit. So I promise you I will make a video talking about Civil War II, covering all of it. I've already been writing out a script for the things that I want to talk about with the previous issues, so trust me, an episode is coming. However, I'm not going to record that while I'm having Christmas with my parents. It's not going to happen, I'm sorry. So, I didn't want to leave you guys with nothing this week. Partly because I care about you guys, and also because YouTube has now changed its algorithm around, so if you stop making videos for a week, they decide that your channel is dead and pick up all your subscribers and throw them in the trash compactor. So, rather than talking about Civil War II, today I'm going to give you a short little review of something that you guys have been asking me for the longest time to talk about. Seriously, I have gotten so many messages about this on Twitter and Tumblr, and every single Saturday when we do our Saturday streams over on Twitch, there is always at least one person in the comment section asking me when I am going to talk about Justice League Action. Your answer is today. Yes, the first 2 episodes of Justice League Action came out on Cartoon Network. It was a 2-part storyline that featured the Justice League trying to get some demons back into the Rock of Eternity, and I watched it, and I'm going to give you my thoughts. So let's have some fun with this. Now, I'm going to start off by saying DC is known for having the best animated superhero series of all time. They hands down have had the best track record of any other comic book company out there, up to a point. Yes, when we think about all the stuff that we love from the DC animated universe, we think of all the Bruce Timm stuff. We think of Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series. We think about a lot of their earlier animated films. We think about the Justice League series, that original Teen Titans series. We think about all the incredible stuff that they did. However, I gotta be honest with you, I have not really enjoyed any of their animated movies in the past couple of years. I mean, The Killing Joke was just a massive flop, in my opinion. And I haven't even been enjoying their animated series for television anymore. I mean, I know that they're no longer aiming it at me. Young Justice and the Green Lantern animated series, both of which were amazing. That was like the last thing that they decided to aim at all ages and make shows that both kids and adults could enjoy with really big, rich storylines. After that, it turned into Teen Titans Go and that DC superhero high school show, which that one is in no way at all aimed at me, so I am in no way going to judge it at all. But Teen Titans Go, man, again, it's not aimed at me, but it's the kind of show that would have been aimed at me when I was a kid, and I really get the feeling like little 10-year-old me would have watched that and gone, this isn't funny. Like, that show just kind of drives me nuts for many reasons that I'm not going to get into, but the point I'm trying to make is that I have not really been excited about any new DC animated properties in a while now. Justice League Action, again, it's aimed at kids. It's not aimed at me, it is aimed at a younger audience. However, unlike with Teen Titans Go, I look at this and go, 10-year-old me would love the hell out of this show. This feels like a Saturday morning cartoon, which my younger audience members won't know what that means because now there's 24-hour cartoon channels out there at all times. I'm getting older as I speak. I feel like I just sipped from the wrong cup at the end of that last Indiana Jones film. Anywho, Hold on, gotta pause while I get sad for a moment. But okay, the first part of this episode features the Wizard Shazam teaming up with Batman to go back to the Rock of Eternity to stop Black Adam. I thought, okay, I get what you're doing here now. You're trying to have Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman kind of be the three constants on this show, but you're just going to grab whatever you can get from the DC Universe and put into the series, and the rest of these two episodes continue to give me that feeling, and it actually kind of worked. It didn't feel like they were just throwing random characters in there. It really felt like this show wanted to be, hey, let's just have fun inside of the DC Universe, which in a weird way is kind of the show that I always wanted. Like, I always got that feeling as well from the Justice League Unlimited series. I thought that was a great take on that. But as I said, that series was aimed almost more at adults. I'm not saying kids couldn't enjoy that, but when you get to the big twist with Cadmus and you get into that long storyline and you see where it's going and you get into some of the sadder, more dramatic moments, I was like, holy cow, they are writing this just to write a good show. They don't care what age watches it. This, I was like, they are definitely aiming this at younger kids, but that's totally fine because it's still a pretty good show. It is not a show that I look at and it's like, wow, they're just pandering to children. I look at this and go, they made a really darn good show for kids. This is a show that really does, it makes all these characters exaggerated versions of themselves, but that's fine because you're giving this to kids to instantly go, okay, now I know who this character is. Like when Booster Gold shows up and you see that he is just basically a giant joke character, which, by the way, I absolutely love that Booster Gold had a scene with Batman, and Batman is being voiced by Kevin Conroy, but Booster Gold is being voiced by Diedrich Bader, who is the guy who voiced Batman in Batman the Brave and the Bold. And of course we all know that Kevin Conroy is the definitive voice of Batman. And yeah, if you ask me, he is hands down the best guy to play Batman ever. I am including both cartoons and any live action interpretation of the character. Kevin Conroy to me is the best version of Batman. However, it kind of felt a little bit bad for Diedrich Bader. It's like, you force this guy to come back in here and play off of the guy who played that same character that he played, but better. And I was like, Diedrich Bader was a pretty good Batman. In a weird way, I would kind of rather have Diedrich Bader come back in here and play Batman in this series, because that is a small, tiny complaint that I do have to make about this show, which is that I know that so many people were excited to see Kevin Conroy return as Batman, but he's been returning as Batman a lot, and I'm getting to that point where I'm like, you know what, man, you were the best Batman, but eventually you have to leave. Eventually you have to let other people come in here. And he always played a far darker and more serious Batman, a far more noir Batman, and I don't think that voice really works in this fun, hyper-action cartoon that is aimed at kids. I think that Diedrich Bader's voice as Batman actually does work better in this interpretation. So that is a small complaint, and it's probably the only time that you will ever actually hear me complain about Kevin Conroy playing Batman, is when you put him in a cartoon where I don't really want to see the dark noir Batman. Although, I do have to say, I thought they were going to look at this and go, well, you know what, this is aimed at kids, it's going to be light and fun and poppy, we're going to make Batman just a big jokey character, we're not going to make him the Batman that you all love. I really have to say, I think they did a great job of making this Batman kind of the Batman that we love, but at the same time, having it fit this universe. Like, I didn't look at Batman and think he was goofy. I looked at him and I thought, you know what, he's being serious, he's being gruff, he's being a little bit noirish, he's being, you know, that detective that we all enjoy, but to the appropriate level where you could buy him in this big action-filled cartoon that's aimed at kids. So I think they did a wonderful job balancing that, and I think that they also did a really good job capturing Superman and Wonder Woman in here. I have been so fed up with the dark, gritty versions of Batman, I'm sorry, not Batman, of Superman. Wow, weird Freudian slip. But I have been so fed up with the darker, angsty versions of Superman that we have been getting in every single interpretation of him, that seeing this Superman, you know, there's this moment in here in which it looks like Parasite is killed, and Wonder Woman is like, wow, Parasite, well, you know, he was a villain and he was a monster, and Superman was like, he's still a living thing. I was like, that's what Superman should say. I am very glad to see that they have that Superman come in here. And he's like, no, I do care about every single person out there, even if they are a supervillain. And it's like, all right, way to go. Once again, I think that it is important that this show is exaggerating these characters to the point where any kid who is getting introduced to them, the moment that they see these characters, they go, I know who that is now. And it's very important to also get Wonder Woman right, simply because Wonder Woman has had fewer interpretations than Batman or Superman shows. She definitely needs more representation in these cartoons, so I'm glad that they have got the Trinity in here. And I actually really like Wonder Woman in here. Like I said, I think that they're trying to make all these characters a little bit more exaggerated so that way younger audiences can instantly realize who they are. And yeah, in this, Wonder Woman is far more about action, about fighting, about going in there and just kicking butt. And I was like, you know what? A kid watches this, they will instantly get that that is Wonder Woman. So that is actually pretty cool. And also the type of adventure that they go on, it's great for a Saturday morning cartoon style series because they end up going up against these demons, and the demons each have different powers, but their powers are an excuse to just mess around with these heroes. Like the first demon they go up against can absorb other people's powers, and they have Superman and Wonder Woman go up against him. So it's like, all right, so the kids get the action in this. Great, way to go. You keep seeing this guy get stronger as he has to keep fighting heroes. But then they have to use Martian Manhunter to come in here so that they can trick him into absorbing his weakness to fire. And it's like, you know what? That's a great way to introduce Martian Manhunter. Now kids out there know who Martian Manhunter is. And I gotta say, I really like this version of Martian Manhunter. Like, he's kind of upbeat. He's not the very stiff, serious Martian Manhunter that we always got. He is, you know, he is kind of serious. He is kind of flat. But he's flat in an alien way, like he keeps trying to crack jokes, and he has to then turn and ask, did I tell that joke correctly? That was my attempt at humor, did it work? And I was like, you know what, that's a good way for kids to understand this guy is an alien. This guy does not get human culture. So I think that they handled that really well. In fact, there's actually a great line in here. I didn't really laugh at a lot of these jokes, simply because, as I said, these jokes are pretty much aimed at a younger audience. But there's a great moment in which he tries to tell a joke, no one laughs, and then he turns to Batman and goes, that was my attempt at humor. Did it work? And Batman just goes, you're asking me? I was like, that's a really good Batman joke. That, again, is a great way of having Batman be the Batman that we want to see, but still making him jokey enough for a kid's cartoon. So as I said, the first demon, it was good for the kids to just see action and superheroes fighting each other. The second demon possesses Batman and then morphs him into a giant demon bat. I remember when I was a kid, I was always like, man, I want to see these heroes, but in weird, crazy ways. Like, the moment that I found out that Green Lantern rings could hop from one person to the next, I was like, I want to see this character with the Green Lantern ring. Like, I always wanted to see heroes in different lights. I wanted to see heroes in a different way. So I thought, you know what? Young Professor Thorgy would have loved seeing giant demon Batman, because that is something totally new. That's something I would never have seen. It's a version of Batman that I never ever would have gotten. Like, it never once occurred to me while I was watching this, man, they probably just did that so they can sell some giant demon Batman toy. That's probably the only reason that they did. No, I looked at that and I went, yeah, that actually is a fun thing to put into a kid's cartoon. And along those same lines, the last group of demons that they have to face are demons who can take away people's powers by saying their names. So their brilliant idea of how to fight them is they all just change costumes around. And the costumes, like, they don't even work. Like, it's not like just Green Arrow puts on Superman's costume. They do that. But then they have Swamp Thing put moss all over Wonder Woman so people will think that she's Swamp Thing. I was like, nobody would think that. And then Swamp Thing just puts on Plastic Man's uniform, and it's like, it's still Swamp Thing under there. This wouldn't work at all. But I didn't care. It's a kid's cartoon. It was one of those things where it was like, yeah, I've never seen anything like this. This is all new. Little me would have loved this when he was a kid. And as I said, another thing that makes this show so good for kids, and also just for anybody who is a DC Comics fan, is that they have said they're going to fit as many heroes and characters as they can into this show. And these first two episodes, I totally got that feeling. Not only do they go to the Hall of Justice, and there you see Booster Gold, and you see Cyborg, and as I said, they give you just enough about these characters that all the DC fans out there are like, oh yeah, they're mentioning this thing. But even if you're a new fan of these characters, and this is your first time being introduced to them, you instantly get an idea of who they are. Like, they have Cyborg in there, and he's messing around with the tech at the Hall of Justice, so you're like, alright, he's their tech guy, he's the guy who knows that. Booster Gold was in there, he was jokey, and Batman was beating him up, so it's like, alright, he's the jokey punching bag. We all get that. So, you get an instant introduction to them, but I also love just the variety of characters that they had in here. Like I said, they had Plastic Man coming at the end, and the first time I've ever not heard Tom Kenny playing Plastic Man, but it's the guy who does the voice of Master Shake in Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and I went, that guy is actually perfect for this character too. They picked another voice actor who just nailed that performance. That was great. But I will say, Swamp Thing they had in there, and Swamp Thing basically just said, so we're gonna do this? Alright, that's fine. And they just fought with some plants. I was like, you could have put a tiny bit more personality on Swamp Thing. I'm not saying go full tilt into Swamp Thing, because he is a crazy drug trippy character who should not be in a young kid's cartoon being interpreted in that way. But, you know, just give him a little bit more personality like he has from the comics, you know, a little bit more serious, a little bit more kind of like big spooky creature. It's like, I would prefer to have seen a little bit more of that from him. Although, the big surprise guest at the end of this, there comes a moment where Batman is like, we need backup. He makes a call, then this little portal opens up, and it looks like a boom tube. I was like, okay, maybe it's gonna be Cyborg because he can open up boom tubes, maybe it's gonna be some of the new gods. John Constantine pops out. Swamp Thing, as I said, he's a crazy drug trippy character, but he wasn't always that way, and we have seen him cross over with the regular heroes before, so it's like, okay, even if he's some big spooky monster, I can see him popping up in a children's cartoon. In fact, they even did that before back in the 90s, and it was garbage. Never ever watch that. You watch that and you understand why Alan Moore went insane. It's like, this is what you did to my character? I worked so hard to make him great and you did this? I fully understand why Alan Moore jumped off the deep end. However, John Constantine has always just been a bastard. John Constantine is a guy who smoked cigarettes non-stop, smoked so much he gave himself lung cancer, then had to trick demons into curing him and went right back to smoking. Like, this guy is a veritable walking chimney. He curses and swears and drinks and sleeps around non-stop. The first time he had his own series, he got a bunch of fly demons to eat his drug-addicted friend. It's like, John Constantine is a guy who should never, ever, ever, ever appear in a children's cartoon. And yet, I'm kind of okay with it because, as I said, just speaking as a DC Comics fan, part of me is like, I can't believe I am watching John Constantine in a children's cartoon, but there's another part of me that's like, I can't believe I'm watching John Constantine in a children's cartoon. It's so weird that I can't really complain. I want to complain. I want to look at it and go, he shouldn't be in here. But it's so weird and goofy to imagine that that is happening that I'm like, okay, let's roll with it. Why not? I will say, like I said, they make these characters exaggerations so that everybody out there can understand who they are. John Constantine just speaks in British slang that no one can understand, and Batman actually said he got hit by a spell that exaggerates his British accent and slang. I was like, that joke might have gone a step too far. Like, I enjoyed the joke. I think there were some pretty good moments with that running gag, but I do think that they went just a smidge too far. That I would prefer that they just backed up a little bit on it. There's also a moment, like I said, John Constantine smokes non-stop in the comics. There's a moment where he puts a lollipop in his mouth, so he's got the thing hanging out, and I was like, I see what you did there. And it's just very weird to me, because I used to watch One Piece all the time, and when they had to interpret the character of Sanji, who also smokes non-stop, into a children's cartoon in America, they CGI'd the cigarette to be a lollipop at all times. I was like, so are we just all in agreement? Is this like just some unspoken agreement that we all have? That if you see a character who is constantly sucking on a lollipop, you understand that in their original interpretation, they're smoking? Is that it? Is that the rule? Alright. As I said, I just couldn't get over that. Like, my jaw was on the floor Because I never in a million years thought I would see John Constantine pop up in a children's cartoon. But at the same time, it's so weird to see that I'm kind of okay with it. But okay, end of the day, final analysis on this. I don't know if I'm going to watch every episode of this. I don't know if it's going to be something that I tune in to watch on a regular basis. I think it's going to be one of those things where I catch here and there, because like I said, this show is not aimed at me. This is not like Justice League Unlimited or Young Justice where they're like, we're going to aim this at all audiences. This is clearly being aimed at kids. And I got enjoyment out of it as a DC Comics fan because I was like, holy cow, look at all these characters that are popping up. It's pretty cool to see all these characters. That's the majority of the entertainment that I got out of it. However, at the same time, I can look at this as something aimed at kids and realize this is a pretty darn good show aimed at kids. As I said, this is one of the first shows that I've seen in a long time that feels like a Saturday morning cartoon. And I'm glad that kids these days, wow, that's a weird sentence to say. I'm glad that kids these days have so many cartoons that are taking things to a new level, that they are upping their game, like Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, Adventure Time, even We Bare Bears. Like, all of them are going, we don't want to just make a good show for kids, we want to make something that can educate them, that can give them awareness of the real world, that can basically give them a level of entertainment that they never had before. I'm so glad that we have so many shows like that. But at the same time, speaking as an adult, if I just went out and watched all the big Oscar-winning dramas every single year, and those were the only films I watched, I would be a really sad, depressed dude. Every now and again, I just need to watch some summer blockbuster where stuff just blows up. This is what that is for kids. This is that show for kids that's like, hey man, Steven Universe is giving you some harsh life lessons right now, and it's good that you're learning all those. But just kind of make things easier on you, here's Superman punching a giant lava monster. That's what this show is, and it succeeds at that very well. This is not like a lot of those other shows that I have seen from, say, Marvel recently, where they have tried to make shows along those same lines. Like Ultimate Spider-Man, which people tell me it's gotten better, but man, I could not get past that first season because it was just random stuff that these adult writers and producers thought kids would enjoy, and I just couldn't get into it. This one I look at and go, this is actually a pretty darn good show for kids. This is a show that it's not talking down to them, but at the same time, it just wants to create something fun for them. And I think it succeeds. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this episode and what hero would you like to see pop up in the upcoming episodes of Justice League Action. As I said, sorry that content this week is going to be kind of light, but I am out of town. But I hope that you did enjoy this episode, and the regular comic class will be coming up as soon as I get back home and am able to read whatever ends up happening in this. So thank you guys for tuning in, and if you want to see that upcoming episode of Comic Class or any of the other shows that we do on this channel, because we do talk about everything from the world of geekery on the Professor Thorgy channel, so if you want to see that, then make sure that you click that subscribe button. Also make sure that you share these videos around the web. It is the best way to help our channel grow. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. Come back next time. Bye!